She was the strongest red-haired witch in history, yet tormented by something akin to extreme empathy. Anything and everything brought her to tears. A volcanic eruption? She wept. Someone getting hurt? She wept. Even the neighbor's dog dying during childbirth was enough to shatter Niels's composure. Even a simple walk outside on a cloudy day could send her spiraling into a crying fit. If she didn't find something to occupy herself soon, she feared she might succumb to the despair. But being a villain, trouble always seemed to find her. And wasn't the hero about to land right in her lap? Though she'd answered her own question in her later years, the idea of raising a golden retriever in this life seemed rather appealing. In her past life, Niels had been tricked into participating in the church's immortality project. It cost her everything, her family, her friends. She was relentlessly hunted by the church, but in her final moments, she activated a forgotten magical array, hurling herself back 20 years. The first thing she did upon waking was rent the dilapidated Stop 9 Clan's headquarters. From then on, she became the red-haired witch, content enough collecting her daily bounty of gold coins. Then, a clueless fool dared to prance before her, a child clinging to a chain attached to his wrist. The brute holding the chain was a training officer, tasked with training Death Seekers to expand Stop 9's army, and the child was an escapee. Niels was about to intervene when the little golden retriever, in a surprising move, backhanded the brute across the face. Caught off guard, the brute stumbled, and the little golden retriever seized the opportunity, tackling him to the ground. He tried to strike, but the difference in strength was too great. The brute sent the child flying, leaving him crumpled on the ground, gravely injured. As the brute prepared to continue his assault, Niels stepped forward, calmly analyzing the situation. If not for his age, the boy would have almost achieved a complete reversal. Such natural combat talent. Just as the thought crossed her mind, the brute lunged recklessly. Niels rewarded him with a swift, bone-shattering blow. Her fan's favorite, the boneless chicken claw. A piercing scream ripped through the air. Everyone froze, terrified. They hadn't even seen what weapon the woman had used. Who are you? Are you the witch? Niels smiled. Even if you guessed right, there's no prize. As for who I am, you can ask Hades yourself. A blast of magical energy erupted. The brute was obliterated, his snowy white hair stained crimson. The thrill of the kill brought no joy to the witch, only a chilling emptiness that threatened to consume her. Suddenly, a man called out, "Witch Sama." He begged her to save the child. Though strangers, the boy was the same age as his own son, whom he had lost. He couldn't bear to witness another such tragedy. Niels explained the witch's curse. Due to incompatible magical pathways, any magic she wielded was poison to ordinary humans. "I'm sorry," the man cried in anguish. The familiar despair of helplessness washed over her. The little golden retriever, struggling, pushed himself up, staggering towards Niels. He cast a healing spell, the signature magic of a paladin. A soft, warm light seeped into the boy's wounds. He healed rapidly, slowly regaining consciousness. Niels stared at the golden retriever in shock. Only one man had been trained as a paladin by Tartarus. The mark on the boy's chest confirmed her suspicions. Javier Augusta. In the last century, he was the church's most powerful weapon, and the overseer of the Immortality Project. It was he who had crushed Niels's rebellion in her past life, and ultimately killed the witch. To prevent the tragedy from repeating itself, the best course of action is to nip the danger in the bud. But the image before death remains unforgettable. The man smoothed his eyes closed. There wasn't a trace of hatred in his eyes. Perhaps it was simply pity. At that moment, he couldn't bring himself to do it. "Do you want to come with me?" He never imagined that a few years later, he would become the biggest problem in his life. And the dizzy blonde boy completely turned into a large dog who loved to hear his sister's praise. As long as his sister was happy, he would be rewarded. The red-haired witch, Niels, transformed herself into a hideous creature, a golden retriever pup in her arms. Knowing full well that this was the male protagonist who had killed her in her past life, she still kept the boy as a pet. Now wanted criminals across the land. They had no choice but to flee. Seeing the blonde boy gobbling down his food, she approached and asked, "Has no one ever taught you how to use utensils?" Then, her jade-like hand brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. In the next second, her 8-foot red hair flowed like a seductive spirit as she patiently showed the blonde boy how to use a fork. The boy tried the method his sister taught him. The moment he succeeded, not only did his eyes light up, but his hair stood on end. Niels stared at him with interest. "Are you truly unable to speak?" Receiving no response, Niels suddenly remembered. In the novel, to control these children, the temple would plant demonic insects within them. These parasites would devour the host's senses, ultimately turning them into perfect weapons devoid of self, capable of thinking of nothing but combat. Even now, it wasn't too late to remove it, but she truly didn't dare to try. To kill the demonic insect, she would have to channel her magic into him. What if by some accident, she killed him in the process? Helpless, she had no choice but to summon other creatures, a bustling array of forms. "Stop playing dead." With a single command, a bitter face appeared on the demonic barrier. Javier's hair stood on end in fright. He bared his fangs like a wild beast, hiding under the table and snarling. Mammon was Niels's lifelong demonic barrier. They had faced numerous trials together in her past life, but Mammon always exuded an aura of darkness. Niels instinctively repelled him, eventually sealing him within a time-space rift. "So, Lady Niels, is there anything I can do for you?" Mammon's cooking class commenced. A child who doesn't speak often suffers from lung heat. Take a cleansed and skinned lizard, cut it into thumb-sized strips. Once the oil is hot, add ginger, garlic, and green onions until fragrant. Stir fry over high heat until golden brown. Add the appropriate amount of salt, sugar, and pepper, and continue stir frying until the color changes. Finally, simmer over low heat for precisely 77 times 42 hours. A bowl of fragrant and visually appealing antidote was complete. The blonde boy drooled with anticipation. Only Niels realized something was amiss. "Are you making dinner here?" Mammon explained. "It's true. This is a genuine antidote." But before he could finish, the blonde boy swallowed it in one gulp. Pain instantly shot through his body. Thud! He collapsed to the ground, convulsing. The demonic barrier offered an explanation. The pain is unavoidable. The agony of expelling the demonic insect is difficult for ordinary people to bear. Niels, enraged, destroyed the demonic barrier. It brought back unpleasant memories. She had once been imprisoned by the temple. Pain had long since become numb to her. That's why she, and only she, understood the kind of bone-deep agony. Niels soothed the boy with her hand. "It's all right. I'll share this pain with you." Javier looked at her, bewildered. Niels returned his gaze with the gentlest of smiles. She settled the boy on her lap. "Don't be afraid." Gradually, Javier drifted off to sleep. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself cradled in his sister's arms. Suddenly shy, he jumped out of bed. Hearing his own voice, he touched his scarred throat. Strange sounds tumbled from his mouth. Finally, he confirmed he could speak. Hearing a pain sound, he turned towards his sister. Tears streamed down her cheeks. He cautiously approached. He wiped away her tears. Jinzhou's brow gradually smoothed. Javier smiled back, the corners of his mouth lifting involuntarily. That night, Niels for once slept soundly. The next day, Niels strolled around with the little golden-haired boy. He trailed after his sister, listening to the sound around him, practicing his pronunciation. In just half a day, he had grasped a vast vocabulary. His pronunciation wasn't quite accurate yet, except for one phrase. It was the imitation of his sister's name. Only when calling her did his words become perfectly clear. The little golden-haired boy tugged at his sister's clothes, urging her not to wander off. He had reminded her countless times not to call him Niels, but sister. But the boy was stubborn. It seemed she would have to set some ground rules. Suddenly, Niels sensait danger. Seeing the little golden-haired boy about to be trampled by a runaway horse, she summoned magic in her palm. But the distance was too great. With a thud, Javier was shielded beneath a woman's body. Niels froze. In this day and age, there were still people who would risk their lives for a stranger. The woman looked the boy over, terrified he was hurt. "If you were injured, what would I do?" "Silly child, I'm your mother." The plot seemed to be taking a strange turn. The golden-haired protagonist had been taken in by the red-haired witch. But before he could grow up, his real mother appeared. It turned out the woman suffered from a mental illness. Their son had died a few months prior. The little golden-haired boy looked too much like their Svef as a child. Overwhelmed, the woman began to cry again. Niels's tear ducts sprang into action. She scooped up the little golden-haired boy and thrust him towards the couple. The husband and wife, taking Javier in their arms, instantly stopped weeping. Niels gasped for breath. Finally, the tears stopped. During the time she had spent alone with Javier, she hadn't cried once. She had almost forgotten this body's damnable affliction. This place was no longer safe. She searched for an excuse to leave. Meanwhile, the couple had already begun plotting. Javier likes swords, doesn't he? My husband's workshop has plenty. Let's go take a look. The little golden-haired boy's eyes lit up. Niels rushed to stop them, but the woman caught her hand. Although it's rather presumptuous, she began, but I still wanted to ask, where are your parents? Why didn't they come out with you? Niels stammered. We're from the same orphanage. We've never seen our parents. The woman suddenly brightened. Wonderful. Realizing her mistake, she quickly corrected herself. I mean, how unfortunate. You've both lost your families. If that's the case, she continued, would you like to become our children? Niels was taken aback. She hadn't expected the offer to include her. The woman clasped her hands to her face excitedly. To have such a beautiful daughter and to style your hair would be a lifelong dream. Would you like to try? Niels should have refused, but she couldn't bring herself to. She'd just consider it a free haircut. Finally, she obediently unfurled her waist-length red hair. Beautiful. If only I had given birth to a daughter. He should be about your age now, the woman said, her voice tinged with a wistful sadness. What's the use of having boys? In the blink of an eye, they're grown. They develop their own ambitions, their own dreams. They leave their families to chase them, only to end up like this. Niels asked gently, was it an accident? The woman paused, her voice thick with grief. He was serving in the order, she choked out. He died fighting a witch. They couldn't believe that the daughter they adopted was the witch who killed their son. Her red hair, it was proof enough for them. Mammon, Niels's lifelong demonic barrier, whispered a warning. Be careful, Niels. This could be a trap. Better to strike first than be struck, it hissed. Eliminate the threat. But the couple seemed oblivious to any potential danger, their faces radiating joy. They were going to give these orphans a home. Suddenly, panic erupted in the streets. Something was terribly wrong. A witch, someone cried. She killed an officer in the next village, and she stole a child. The woman's eyes narrowed with suspicion. What did the child look like? She asked. As the details emerged, a chilling realization washed over her. She hurried back home. Niels greeted her warmly. Welcome back, she said, her demeanor unchanged. I'll start dinner, she offered. You must be starving. But Javier's face was pale with dread. The woman suddenly produced a pair of scissors from behind her back. Before she could strike, Javier reacted. He lunged forward, sinking his teeth into the woman's wrist. The next instant, he was thrown back by a burst of magic. As the magic flared, Niels's dark hair blazed crimson. The woman stared, her face a mask of shock. All pretense dropped. Niels dodged the scissors, her voice sharp. I don't recall giving you permission to interfere, she snapped. Javier, for the first time, spoke back to her. But they were trying to kill you, and you think I need your protection? Niels scoffed. Don't be ridiculous. I'm a wicked witch, remember? She pressed the scissors against the woman's throat. He had caught the bullet barehanded. Now, he held the blade to his adoptive mother's throat. Even the strongest red-haired, which showed mercy. A faint smile played on her lips. It was as if she wanted them to fear her. The woman cried out, Javier, come here. She tricked you. She's a witch. Do you know how many people she's killed? Don't be afraid, she pleaded. Mommy will protect you. Niels played along. She pushed Javier towards them. She's telling the truth, Niels said. They adopted you. Why stay with me? You'll be much better off with them. But Javier ignored her, running to her and throwing his arms around her. I don't understand, Niels said softly. You could have a normal life, a loving family, a bright future. Instead, you choose this to be hated and ostracized with me. Javier held her tighter. I don't want any of that. Hate, ostracism, it doesn't matter. We'll be together. A bleak smile touched Niels's lips. She was used to being alone. Behind them, the couple began to argue. The man raised a hunting rifle, pointing it at Niels. I won't let you hurt anyone else, he growled. Not like you hurt my son. Niels's voice was cold. What did your son do at the church? Did his work hurt people? Did you truly not know? Or did you simply choose not to believe the truth? The woman's rifle clattered to the floor. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. No, that's not true. Vester wasn't like that. You've killed so many. How could you care about him? But she was wrong. Niels remembered. She remembered every single person she had killed, and she remembered Vester whispering for his mother as he died. After that, the witch burned his body, shouldering all the sins and vanishing from the world. 6 years later, a group of children were squabbling over marbles. Even their older brother couldn't stand it. The culprit, however, stood to the side, laughing and blowing on a blade of grass. Everyone called him Sorrowful Redhead. The witch, however, didn't believe he had ever saved anyone. She just mindlessly pursued him. Niels then secluded herself beyond the mountains. The magical device she created was promoted by the now human Javier. Over time, suitors flocked to him, but Javier always said, "I have to go back and cook for my sister." Unexpectedly, this time there was an accident. He forgot to collect the repair fee. On his way home, Emily rallied a little friend. The siblings had been in the village for 5 or 6 years, but no one had ever seen what his sister looked like. So the girl suggested they follow him home to see. The two little ones immediately put their plan into action. After successfully crossing the single log bridge, they quickly disguised themselves, not even bothering to dry off. After walking for 49 days, they finally reached their destination. Finding the door unlocked, the two went inside. The sounds from upstairs gradually became clearer. The two stood awkwardly in place. Javier, sensing something amiss, looked back. "Why are you here?" The two explained they had come to deliver the repair fee. The girl cautiously inquired, "Were you just talking to your sister? Can we meet her?" Javier was about to refuse when Niels's voice called out, "What's all the commotion?" The two, who had been chattering noisily, suddenly widened their eyes. Their sister's breathtaking beauty was truly stunning. Calling her a celestial being wouldn't be an exaggeration. Niels frowned slightly. "We have guests," she said, then set out the teacups. The three sat facing each other, none of them speaking. Niels, outwardly calm, was inwardly panicking. For so many years, she had lied, claiming to be too frail to see anyone. She lived a life of complete dependence, never lifting a finger. All interactions with the outside world had been left to Javier. This had resulted in her social skills being practically non-existent. "Someone save me." The girl beside Javier was overcome with self-doubt. With such a beautiful sister, it's no wonder Javier is indifferent to the girls in the village. Niels spoke first. "Is there something important you two needed today?" The girl, however, replied rather rudely, "I didn't expect Javier's sister to be like this. You two don't look alike at all." Niels wasn't angry. Instead, she confessed that they weren't blood relatives. They were just fellow orphans, finding comfort in each other's company in these chaotic times. The girl's mood darkened further. Noticing her downcast expression, Javier asked, "What's wrong?" She quickly waved her hand and said, "Nothing, just a little hungry." Feeling cared for, the girl secretly rejoiced. However, upon hearing this, Niels offered to cook. Javier whispered, "Are you sure you want to do this yourself? You've never cooked before." Niels retorted, "Haven't I cooked for you?" But thinking back over the past 6 years, she realized she actually hadn't. Javier rolled up his sleeves. "I'll do it. I always do the chores. Don't risk hurting yourself." Niels insisted, "This time is different. You brought a friend home for the first time. I absolutely won't let you lose face. Leave it to me." Javier nodded. This boosted Niels's confidence even more. "Watch me show you my skills today." 3 hours later, a culinary disaster emerged from the kitchen. Niels's face darkened. The two others awkwardly stammered. "Appearance isn't important. Taste is what matters." But as soon as they took a bite, all three reacted almost identically. It was so awful, it was practically inedible. Burnt on the outside, raw on the inside. Niels had to admit, using a transformation spell to make strawberries was too much of a stretch. It just tastes like dirt. Only Javier had anything good to say about it. The cream is whipped perfectly, and when it's baked a little longer, it gets this nice, burnt flavor. I love it. The girl watched silently, observing Javier as he dotingly wiped the cream from Niels's face. Then, as if a weight had lifted, she smiled. She didn't notice the boy beside her, his gaze fixed on Javier the entire time. Dusk settled. Javier reminded Niels that it was time for bed. Niels invited the two children to stay the night. "Make yourselves a home," she said. "If you don't mind, you can call me sister too, like Javier does." Javier paused in whatever he was doing at her words. After Niels left, the two children decided to try it out. But the moment they uttered a single syllable, Javier warned them, "No, you can't. She's my sister." He added, a hint of menace in his voice. After making their beds, Javier smiled and left the room. "Good night. See you tomorrow." Only after they heard the door close did they dare to breathe a sigh of relief. We can never make Javier angry, the boy whispered. Sister Khan is too scary. The girl flopped onto the bed, thrilled to be spending the night away from home for the first time. He suggested they sneak out in the middle of the night to explore. If we go now, we might even find a man-eating vine. A long time ago, he began, there was a boy in the village, also named Ram, just like you. One day, he went hunting in the mountains as usual and stumbled upon a rabbit trapped and immobilized by vines. Ram went closer, trying to catch it, but the vines suddenly lashed out at him. Poor Ram was swallowed whole by the vines, disappearing into the undergrowth. A few days later, the villagers went up the mountain to search for him, but they couldn't find a trace. Then, one of the villagers noticed something strange. Beautiful flowers had bloomed on the vines. Finally, they found poor Ram, completely drain dry. Just a huge piece of human skin. The boy was utterly terrified by the story. The girl rolled her eyes and turned away, about to change the subject. But then she realized he had fainted from fright. Night deepened. The girl, Emily, couldn't sleep. The image of Ram's fate kept flashing through her mind, making her feel inexplicably sad. It was her first night away from home, and she missed her family. Unable to sleep, she decided to get up and wander around. She accidentally stepped on a flower. Looking down, she found it odd. How could there be a flower in a place like this? She looked up and saw vines creeping up the ladder to the balcony. Though frightened, she carefully climbed up after hearing Niels's voice. A demonic entity was informing Niels that Javier's innate ability could only be used on humans. Without a constant infusion of magic, he would die within 3 days. But if Niels infused him with her magic, he would die instantly, and it would bring disaster upon everything around them. This was the curse of the witch. Suddenly, a creak echoed. Niels instantly cast a protective spell on high alert. But when the girl opened a window, she saw an incredible sight. Tears, like pearls, streamed down Niels's face as she was entwined with the beautiful, flowering vines, yet they held no malice. Emily, Niels asked, what are you doing up so late? Emily didn't care if Niels was a witch or not. She only thought Niels looked beautiful. She immediately reached out to touch the vines, exclaiming, is this magic? The man-eating vine shyly recoiled. Niels explained that the plant was timid and would probably wither and die in a few days. Its magic was unique. Using it on living things caused a violent rejection, ultimately leading to death. Niels had found a frozen seed and, on a whim, infused it with some magic. She hadn't expected it to actually grow, but it had, and now it was failing. Continuing to infuse it with her magic would only hasten its demise. Emily volunteered, call me magical bartender. Morning arrived. Ram had just woken from his stupor when the two of them heard a commotion on the balcony. The noise grew closer and closer until the door burst open with a bang. Emily, having chased someone from the herb garden to the library, startled Niels so badly she cried out. The figure leaped from the platform. Javier, seeing this, rushed forward. He caught Niels just in time, then shielded her protectively. What happened? Emily, slowly calming down, explained what had transpired. Ram, furious, launched into a tirade. If someone doesn't want to hand something over, they don't want to hand it over. Stop causing trouble for others. Javier, for the first time, stood up to his sister. What's wrong with that? If it can revive that vine, then Niels will be happy, right? He wore an expression that suggested anything that made Niels happy was justified. Or does Niels have some other concern? This question left Niels completely flustered. During her immortality project, Niels had taken on an apprentice. But in the end, that apprentice had died tragically because of her, bringing disaster to everything around her. That was the curse of a witch. But then again, that was Niels's past. She was just an ordinary person who transmigrated here. Why should she have any psychological trauma? Yeah, what's it got to do with me? She thought. Maybe this can even help me get rid of the shadows of the past. All right then, I'll teach you magic. Starting tomorrow, the three of us will have magic lessons together. But you must obey my commands. Understood? First, you have to run 10 laps around the Forbidden City. Then, swing your swords 9,999 times. If you finish before the hourglass runs out, you'll get the elixir of immortality that Qin Shi Huang dreamed of. Javier, realizing his friends were being teased, wasn't angry. Instead, he tried to appease Niels. I believe Niels definitely has their best interests at heart. Last night, he had seen through the crack in the door that Niels was weeping over the nearly dead carnivorous vine. He had almost opened the door, but then quietly withdrew his hand. Outside, Niels decided to start with the simplest spell, the transformation charm. She gave each of them a twig to use as a wand. Ram, clutching a scallion, told them to be grateful. Hearing that Niels was going to demonstrate for them, Javier quickly whispered in Niels's ear, "Isn't there a risk of exposing your identity if you use magic directly?" Niels indicated it didn't matter. She'd do it like an ordinary magician. She slowly chanted the incantation, her wand dancing in the air. Ram, clueless, thought nothing had happened. Then, in the next second, a phoenix appeared out of thin air. Niels explained that she had cast a transformation charm on a sparrow. Javier wondered if what Niels considered ordinary magic was already world-class. Emily volunteered to try. She pointed her wand at a sparrow and confidently chanted the incantation. But when she opened her eyes, nothing had changed. Niels and Javier simultaneously pointed behind her. Ram's head had been transformed into a giant pumpkin. The pumpkin, furious, whacked her with his scallion. "Stop running. Change me back." Emily frantically cast the spell again. The result? She transformed him into a plate of stir-fried pig's head with scallions. Niels couldn't help but laugh. Seeing Niels's amused smile, Javier's lips also curved upwards. They continued to practice magic. The results were a chaotic mix of teacup bears and frying pan chickens. An elephant somewhere would never know why it had become a teapot. Niels acted as the judge. Ram finally managed to transform a small bird into an origami crane. For managing to transform it into an inanimate object, she gave him a score of 57. As for Emily, aside from her aim being a little off, she had basically grasped the essence of the transformation charm. Her score of 87 was considered exceptionally talented. The girl, Emily, was still lamenting her inability to conjure a specific animal. The sorrowful redhead, whose name was still unknown, suggested Javier give a demonstration. Niels immediately perked up, anticipating the entertainment. As a master of showing off, how could Javier refuse? He slowly chanted the incantation, magical runes swirling around him. Even the Forbidden City seemed to vibrate with his power. Magic poured from his wand. A sparrow perched nervously, frozen in place. Then a gust of wind blew through. The little sparrow simply hopped away. It turned out to be nothing more than a coincidental breeze. Niels, stifling laughter, whispered to the redhead that they shouldn't judge a book by its cover. After all, Javier had the kind of face that looked like he'd succeed, making the whole situation quite embarrassing for him. Unable to contain herself any longer, Niels collapsed onto the grass, laughing hysterically. Javier's hopeless. He'll never be able to do it. Emily thought it was too early to jump to conclusions. Even late bloomers had their day. Giving up on a struggling student? You're not fit to be a teacher. Niels sighed. Children these days have no manners. They need to be taught a lesson. A bolt of magic suddenly sprang from her fingertips. Thankfully, Javier appeared just in time to deflect it. Niels quickly apologized. "But look, isn't the answer right in front of you? Excellent swordsmanship talent, remarkable tactical instincts, and a natural gift for healing, which can be used to strengthen your body and help the weak. You are a Templar Knight. You were born that way. There's no need to be anxious about not being able to learn magic. One day you'll leave my side and learn how to be a fine knight. Don't forget to repay me when that time comes." Javier, the young boy, didn't say a word. He simply turned and walked away, disappointment etched on his face. Day and night, he practiced the magic he wasn't good at. Oblivious Niels thought he was simply passionate about magic. Only Ram seemed to understand. Javier's persistence stemmed from the fact that it concerned someone he cared about. Seeing that Niels still didn't get it, he decided to give an example. "Emily, why do you study magic?" She replied, "Because it's cool." You shouldn't have asked her. People's motivations for progress are diverse. Some strive for fame and fortune. Some are driven by faith. But in my opinion, Javier is neither. The reason he wants to improve his magic is simply to share a common goal with you. A magician and a knight are two entirely different paths. If he really leaves here to study swordsmanship, when you meet again, will your relationship still be the same? Both girls simultaneously marveled at the boy's emotional intelligence. They pondered how to cheer Javier up. A spark of inspiration ignited in Niels's mind. She had a brilliant idea. The three of them huddled together, whispering conspiratorially. The next day, she led everyone deep into the forest to practice attack magic. As luck would have it, they stumbled upon a pack of wolves. Niels, her eyes wide with fear, cried out, "We've accidentally wandered into the territory of the magic wolves. Everyone, get behind me." She chanted an incantation and launched an attack. Just as the wolves pounced, she dramatically dropped her wand. The next moment, blood splattered. Javier, reacting instantly, raised his sword and struck back, immediately turning to check if his sister was all right. Niels put on a brave face. "In this situation, I don't have time to cast spells. At this rate, we'll all die here. I've never faced such a grave danger in my life." The other two mentally rolled their eyes at her theatrics. Then, half kneeling, she pleaded, "Please, can you buy me some time?" Her clumsy acting, however, completely fooled Javier. He chuckled. "Since you asked so nicely, sister." The deeper they ventured, the more seamlessly they fought together, cutting a swathe through the increasingly powerful monsters. The magic wolves' den was completely destroyed, becoming another notch on their belts. The two younger children nodded in unison. "Javier, you're amazing. The world's best swordsman, indeed." Niels chimed in, "That was so close. If it weren't for Javier, I don't know what I would have done. You truly are my indispensable strength." The person in question didn't react immediately. Ram thought this approach wouldn't work. After all, Javier was always so mature and composed. He'd barely finished the thought when Javier's face flushed crimson, forcing Ram to mentally retract the word composed. "Really? I was helpful to my sister." Niels nodded. "Then say what you just said again." Emily, who had once held a fondness for Javier, felt her romantic notion shatter. Old men are a no-go, she thought. Ram, a self-proclaimed master of emotions, had seen through it all. This was a unique, emotional exchange between the two of them. Javier kept talking to his sister, demanding further apologies and reassurances. Back at the cabin, Emily chanted a healing spell. The nearly dead, man-eating vine slowly returned to life. She excitedly raised her magic staff. Niels hadn't expected it to actually work. Thanks to Emily's aptitude, she had managed to accumulate enough magic power in such a short time. Although she could currently only delay its decay to a certain extent, it proved that this method was viable. Niels wondered why she had been so certain there was no way to save it before. This period of seclusion seemed to have stagnated her thinking as well. Had she become afraid to take a step forward? Emily excitedly called out to her teacher, "Let's give him a name. You said before that you didn't want to name him because you were afraid of the sadness of parting. But it's different now. Leave your worries to me. Teacher, what should we call him? How about Ball Ball?" Watching their cheerful interaction, Niels couldn't help but think of her previous life and her poor apprentice who had died because of her. Emily finally decided to call him Wendy. Niels clutched her aching chest. "You two decide. I'll go back and change my clothes." Both of them noticed that their teacher seemed unwell and refrained from disturbing her further. The magic staff reappeared. "You seem to like that girl quite a bit." Niels denied it immediately. "As her teacher, it's only natural for me to care for her." The magic staff poked at her vulnerability. No matter how high the talent within the range of ordinary people, it's ultimately different from true genius. Perhaps she is still immersed in the joy of learning magic now, but one day she will discover the insurmountable gap between you. Just like Michael back then, the girl, who appeared many times in her dreams, always covered in blood, was Niels' first and last apprentice. In the novel, their story was only briefly mentioned. Even so, Niels could feel the tenderness she had felt towards her. Yet, despite such a relationship, Michael ultimately died at Niels' hands. Even though she constantly reminded herself that they were not the same person, the fear of loss still surged within her. She had wanted to take this step, but in the end, she was still controlled by her emotions. "I'm really not suited for this kind of intimate relationship." Just then, a sound came from outside. Pulling back the curtains, she saw Javier hanging upside down from a tree branch. "Didn't I tell you not to enter my room through the window?" Javier laughed. "But if I come through the front door, you'll just lock it, won't you?" He invited his sister to go into town with him. Niels resisted. "I just like staying home. I don't like people. Why do you always try to persuade me to go out?" Javier thought for a moment. "Because spring is coming." His expectant and gentle smile seemed to say, I will always be by your side, like sunshine. The red-haired, which regained her freedom after 6 years, only to be bound for life by her childhood enemy, the one who raised her. Discovering she was no longer wanted, Niels grinned. Finally, I can live freely. Javier handed his sister a candied hawthorn stick. She took a small bite and was instantly captivated. The two apprentices were still grumbling. Someone stole 3 loaves of bread. Does that really warrant a wanted poster? After the fall of the old regime, everyone thought the city's security would crumble. But unexpectedly, under the new leadership, life was actually improving. The true culprit behind the regime's downfall smiled bitterly. As soon as the group appeared on the street, they were met with a flurry of stares. Niels and Javier, standing side by side, instantly elevated the beauty of the entire street. The two apprentices, flustered by the attention, quickened their pace. Javier, tugging on Niels's hand, hurried after them. After enjoying a delicious meal, the 4 of them went to the magic workshop to shop. Upon receiving her new magical girl transformation wand, Niels was ecstatic, striking poses as if triggered by some internal mechanism. Just then, Javier cleared his throat and made a dazzling entrance, sporting a brand new outfit. Niels pulled out her black card and bought it without hesitation. They then moved on to the next shop. Ram asked, "Are you sure about this, Niels? You're practically buying out the whole street." Javier chimed in, "It's fine. I knew this day would come. That's why I've been saving up all these years, specifically so we could splurge. Her happiness is more important than anything." While the two apprentices were consulting a map, Javier was suddenly bump hard. The other person arrogantly warned him to watch where he was going. What nerve! He was the one who bumped into me. Emily suddenly realized that her purse was missing. She quickly handed a pile of items to Niels. "Stop! Thief! You stole my money." Perfect timing to test out my new wand. The man stumbled backward in fear. Emily muttered the incantation, and a fiery blast of magic shot out like an arrow from a bow. Suddenly, a warning sounded. Hostile intent detected. With a bang, the attack was blocked. Emily, struck by the rebounding force, tumbled to the ground. A golden cage sprang up, trapping her. Ram rushed forward to check on her, but Niels stopped him. She looked in the direction the thief had fled. He was now cornered by someone. George Moore, 37 years old, residing at 19 Bame Street. You're under arrest for theft. As for you, Strange. The woman hadn't found any information on Emily. Outlander, you'll have to come with us. Niels interrupted. What did Emily do wrong? What ground do you have to take her? The woman rubbed her head, exasperated. Do you see this? This is the emblem of the Heimdall Luminary Guild. In this country, only those bearing this emblem are authorized to use force. Your companion just attacked this man with magic. According to the law, we are arresting you for vigilantism. Another man stepped forward. Resisting arrest will make you an accomplice. We advise you not to make any sudden moves. Niels slowly raised her hand. Is that so? In the next second, the golden cage shattered. And what can you do if I do make a move? She forcibly broke the confinement device, unless she knew its magical circuitry beforehand. The only way to do that is by overloading it with magic. He just warned the other man to be careful. When a man dropped to one knee at Niels's feet, "Powerful and beautiful lady, I am utterly captivated by your strength. Could you please grace my face with a powerful kick from your magnificent foot?" Javier leaped into the air, sword drawn. Unexpectedly, the man blocked the blow with his forearm. Javier pressed his attack. The man snapped out of his infatuation and quickly retreated. He raised his hand in a mock salute. "My apologies. It seems you already have another dog." The woman stepped forward and scolded him. "Oliver, how many times have I told you not to go in a heat while on duty?" The man healed his wound with a healing ability. Niels observed carefully. This man, like Javier, was a Templar Knight, and Emily grabbed Ram's arm. What was she doing? Were they about to fight? The woman watched Niels' every move, wary and alert. A confrontation seemed imminent. Niels didn't want to reveal her true identity, but she couldn't stand by and watch her student be taken away. The instant she moved to intervene, Ram, appearing suddenly, stopped her. The woman warned the ordinary citizens to stay back. But the street was narrow. Swords were dangerous. It was entirely possible that innocent bystanders could be hurt. Your purpose here is to punish wrongdoing. wrongdoers, not to cause further harm, Ram said. If this could be resolved peacefully, wouldn't that be preferable? Niels was surprised. She hadn't realized Ram possessed such a diplomatic streak. Emily quickly chimed in, apologizing and begging them not to arrest the thief. In the current situation, it was the only thing she could do. Considering his young age and ignorance, we won't imprison him, the woman conceded. But he must come to headquarters for instruction, and all of you must come as well. Niels readily agreed. She was curious about this Heimdall or Luminary Guild. These two leading figures were clearly not ordinary individuals. In the parlance of Niels' previous life, they possessed the power of captains within the church, especially the Templar Knight. His earlier parry against Javier had been a mere test. He also seemed to hold considerable influence among the populace. Who had founded such an organization? And what about that magical device that could restrain people? It wasn't mentioned in the novel. And who had created it? The butterfly effect caused by Niels's destruction of the artifact and her disruption of the original storyline was growing. She could no longer predict the future. She needed more information about this world. They soon arrived at the Luminary Guild's base. It was a repurposed building, formerly the base of the organization Niels had dismantled. George Moore, a repeat offender, had stolen from Judge and Lou 3 months prior. A staff member berated him for breaking his oath. They had believed he had reformed. The man complained that it wasn't that he didn't want to work honestly. With a criminal record, no one would hire him. He was even subjected to humiliation. His mother's illness couldn't wait any longer. In the end, he had to resort to his old ways. Just when a man thought these high and mighty people wouldn't care whether he lived or died, the executive officer arranged for him to take one-on-one embroidery lessons. Then, they sent his mother to receive medical treatment. He was to spend the next 3 months reforming and learning. Such a humane approach struck them all as incredible. The real name registration system had only been implemented 2 months prior. Emily and Ram truthfully provided their personal information. When it was Niels's turn, Javier stepped forward to cover for her. We're siblings. Our parents are deceased. We're natives of Bluestone Village. After registration, Ram questioned why he had lied. If they were caught, they could be charged with deception. Javier was unconcerned. With such a massive undertaking as population registration, if they were to verify every detail, they'd be worked to death. I just don't want to be entangled. You've seen what happens to those who are too honest. The young woman's head spun from the barrage of questions. Don't take it too seriously, Javier reassured her. Let's just keep this our little secret. After much pleading and coaxing, Emily finally managed to extricate herself from the questioning. For a moment, she had even begun to wonder if her father was some sort of fugitive. A staff member rushed over with a stack of books. All of these must be memorized. On the left is the latest edition of national laws. On the right is the history of the Heimdall Luminary Guild. And those, he gestured, are the autobiographies of Oliver. Just make some tea and get to it. Even such a powerful Templar Knight was small fry compared to Niels. The woman confirmed that he was a high-ranking mage, a knight-errant. Working for the Luminary Guild was demanding, but it was also inclusive. People came from all regions and walks of life. Yet, there was no discrimination or hatred. Because of this, it attracted many unique and interesting individuals. She rather liked it here. Niels's judgment proved correct. The establishment of this organization was indeed a chain reaction caused by her own destruction of the church. After the battle between the church and the witches, the die-hard supporters who swore allegiance to the former pope gradually faded away, while the reformists joined the Luminary Guild. Currently, the leaders are Chief Blake and Knight Captain Oliver. A sudden voice interrupted her thoughts. Corporal punishment of children results in 5 days detention, including no food and verbal abuse. I wish Mom could see this. Malicious damage to another's property will result in more than 6 months of reformation. By that calculation, Ram's sister would be imprisoned for 2 years for riding that horse. The regulations are so strict, and the security force is short-staffed. The chief, well, he's the type who won't tolerate even a speck of dust. Regardless of the severity of the offense, he demands strict enforcement of the law. If he knew we let you go last time, we would be severely punished. But the organization is still in its early stages of development. We need people for both legal education and law enforcement. So I have a proposition. Would you consider joining the Heimdall or Luminary Guild? The sworn enemy of the Luminary Guild, played by the red-haired, which is a big golden retriever, turned out to be a possessive, wool-finned sheep's clothing Templar knight. Whenever his sister frowned, his face would darken. Finally, on the day his rival appeared, he stopped hiding his true nature and drew his sword, ready to strike him down. Javier immediately took a stance, ready to teach this deviant a lesson. His companions cheered him on, while Niels remained silent, as if she had already foreseen which way the scales of this battle would tip. Javier crouched low and then shot forward, his sword flashing too fast for the naked eye to follow. Yet Oliver parried every blow. Then, Javier's form vanished like a phantom. In an instant, he reappeared above, poised to strike. A strange smile played on Oliver's lips. Excellent judgment, but predictable. As Niels and the others watched in astonishment, Oliver merely shifted his stance and effortlessly dodged the attack. Javier found Oliver's sword already at his throat. Your fundamentals are still too weak. He pointed out the strengths and weaknesses of Javier's swordsmanship with pinpoint accuracy. However, through this duel, he also clearly recognized Javier's insatiable thirst for improvement in swordsmanship. Surpassing him was only a matter of time. The golden-haired young man tentatively asked Niels, "Can I stay here and learn swordsmanship?" Niels refused without hesitation. "I don't agree. It's so far. How much time would be wasted going back and forth every day? What about the house? Are you going to leave all the chores to me? I'm begging you. Think about others before you do something, okay?" Niels's reprimand caused Javier's head to droop. Since Niels had said so, Niels chuckled and flicked his forehead. "Dummy, always listening to me. Where's your own will? Listen, Javier, you don't owe me anything. You have the right to make your own decisions about your life. If I were the kind of person who would disregard your future for my own convenience, then I wouldn't be worthy of your devotion. Understand?" She gently stroked Javier's head and told him to be bold and pursue his desires. She would wait for him at home. Niels' smile was as radiant as the sun, brighter than the stars. In the midst of autumn, it was like a warm current pouring into the young man's heart. Javier lowered his flushed cheeks, muttering to himself, "Sister, you're playing dirty." The Javier, who had only known how to give, finally understood his own desires. "Then, sister, I'm going. But before I leave, I promise I'll still do the chores and cook. I won't let my training lower your quality of life." Niels waved her hand, already planning to create a teleportation circle for him. The woman beamed as she was leaving. "Don't worry, we'll send someone to your village to set up a teleportation circle. There's no need for him to travel over mountains and valleys every day to attend classes." Then, she took the three master and students to meet the Minister of Magic. As they walked, the woman from the Heimdall Luminary Guild continued to explain the current state of affairs. The rule of law in this country has only recently become subordinate to the government. Before that, most of the city's residents committed petty crimes simply to survive. Those who have committed minor offenses account for more than half of the city's population. We must enforce the law strictly. Otherwise, it won't be a deterrent, and we won't be able to reduce crime. But if we arrest everyone for every little thing, society won't function. The city will be empty, and the prisons will be overflowing. So, we've come up with a solution. The minister is currently researching a magical device that can alter the perception of time. Criminals will think they've served a 3-month sentence, but in reality, only 3 days will have passed. At this point, Niels' expression darkened. In her past life, Niels had dabbled in alchemy while researching immortality magic. A device capable of manipulating the flow of time felt like a relic from that era. Could it be that the Minister of Magic just walked in, got startled by the ladder, and sneezed so hard they fell down? The woman rushed forward to help the minister up. "I apologize for that. Please meet our Minister of Magic, Nigel Sherman." Seeing that familiar face again, Niels froze. Memories of their past and their last moments together flooded back. Tears streamed down her face. Ram, startled, wondered if it was because of the separation from Javier. The next moment, Emily slapped him. "Actually, our teacher has a special condition. Whenever she sees something sad, she can't help but cry. Like, death and parting and stuff. Judging by her reaction, that girl over there probably won't live much longer." Hearing this, Niels bristled. "That's not it. You're making things up. Don't be ridiculous." This is the first time she's cried without feeling that endless loneliness. "I understand, Niels. Even if you're hated, misunderstood, and burdened with all the sins, You only wanted to bring back the companions who died because of you. This time, it's the joy of reunion, right? One cries easily, the other from crippling self-doubt. It inevitably led to whispers around them. Were these two master and student in a past life? They're even equally sensitive. Niels wiped her tears. After all this time, Nicole had returned. Even their personality was as quirky as ever. Could you perhaps make me a calming fragrance? A blend of wisteria and calendula could help soothe my nerves. Nicole disagreed. That would have strong side effects. Have you considered incorporating the stems and leaves as well? A spark of inspiration struck Nicole. They quickly analyzed the crafting method. Niels was surprised. It seemed this woman was quite adept at handling Nicole. Emily, watching from the side, felt a pang of inexplicable annoyance. She tugged on her master's sleeve, pulling them apart. Once the fragrance was finished, Nicole's mood had indeed calmed considerably. I apologize for that display. The guild member finally had a chance to introduce them. These are the suspected criminals and their accomplices. Considering it's their first offense and they're quite powerful, I brought them here to see if they could be of assistance. Emily puffed up slightly. Your Minister of Magic doesn't look much older than me. Are they really that impressive? Nicole whimpered. Not really. I was born into a magical family. All my siblings are renowned mages, but I'm the least talented. My disappointed parents pulled strings to send me to the church to study. But by the time I got there, a witch had already reduced the campus to ruins. With nowhere to go, I was eventually taken in by Chief Blake. But here, I can be of help to others. I must have created some useful things, right? The guild member immediately retorted, No, that's exactly it. Nicole gave a shy smile. I really do enjoy my life now. A blessing in disguise, I suppose. No one noticed Niels's wry smile. Nicole began to explain his research. He divided magic into 4 different departments: the deconstruction and simplification of basic magic, magical device research, weapon enchantment, and finally, the main event. This is what we're currently focusing on, altering the flow of time. Don't underestimate it. If it goes well, humanity could even achieve immortality through it. Niels stiffened. This building is the base established after the church's destruction. While clearing the ruins, they unexpectedly discovered a partially completed magic circle left over from the church's research. Initially, it was considered an ordinary, short-term time-freezing array. But as research progressed, I realized their ambitions were far greater. If successful, perhaps all of humanity could escape the threat of death, becoming immortal beings like the elves. Emily questioned, Isn't that what they call black magic? Nicole denied it. Fantasy novels often categorize magic as good or evil, labeling anything beyond human comprehension as black magic. In reality, magic itself is neutral. There's no inherent good or evil. Niels didn't argue. Let me give you an example. Transformation magic is a convenient and interesting spell for you. But is it the same for the sparrows whose forms you alter? Historically, many spells labeled as black magic were later vindicated through research, becoming important milestones in the history of magic. Nicole gripped his hand. This research has received royal approval. It's completely legal. You'll support me, right? Niels released his hand. It's not like that. This path is full of thorns and hardships. Once I, too, naively believed I would dedicate my life to academia. But I soon discovered that reality was far from my idealistic wishes. Pressure and coercion forced me to harm innocent people. And in the end, I was completely alienated. Immortality is an irresistible temptation for most humans. Once this research becomes public knowledge, its trajectory could easily spiral out of control. By then, if you want to stop the experiments, those in power, eagerly anticipating immortality, won't accept it. The demonic mark appeared. Aren't you going to kill him? That's not very witch-like of you. Niels silenced it. Remember why you came back. To nip the immortality project in the bud. But it's about to be revived. If not now, when? You should destroy him. Annihilate him. Let blood and corpses fill this city, just like you did in the past. Niels insisted he would find a way. Using force rashly will only alert them. What if he succeeds during this time? Don't worry, he won't, because that boy has no talent. He knew his apprentice could never grasp this. There must be someone behind the scenes. After careful consideration, Niels decided to get the information directly from his apprentice. Nicol, I am the witch who destroyed the church. I'm doing all this to stop the Immortality Project. If you don't want chaos to descend upon the world, tell me who's supporting your research. No, this method won't work. Just then, Javier returned, carrying a drunk Oliver on his shoulder. The man promised to teach me swordsmanship, but all he did was assign me basic exercises and went off to drink by himself. Oliver slurred, Nicol, my good man, Zora's busy tonight. Join us. Nicol quickly refused. An idea struck Niels. He wants a drink. If she could get Nicol drunk, she might be able to extract information from him. Nicol still refused to join, claiming he had work to do. Niels, however, expertly played him. Oh, really? I'm so sorry. I thought we were really connecting, and I want to get to know you better. I didn't realize I was bothering you. It seems I was being presumptuous. Nicol, predictably, fell for it. Work can wait until tomorrow. Javier, who knew Nicol best, couldn't fathom what his sister was up to. The party soon began. Nicol downed drink after drink as Niels kept them coming. It's so rare to find someone I get along with so well. Let's drink until we drop. Me too, Niels replied. I don't know why, but being with you feels familiar. From the moment I saw you, I felt drawn to you, like we knew each other in a past life. I used to be so insecure, and I still am, to be honest. But after coming here a year ago, I finally found close companions. I felt needed, and for the first time, I have such an important mission. I absolutely have to succeed, even if it means giving everything for it. Nicol was starting to drift off. I'm sorry. Whether it was then or now, I've never been able to fulfill my responsibilities. I've ruined your dreams time and time again. But even so, Niels still wanted him to live. She turned off the light and left. While they slept, she slipped into the archive room, searching for the Ministry of Magic's personnel roster. She hoped to find some clue within it. What was he doing here? Niels whirled around. Damn it, had she been discovered? But it was only the most familiar face, Javier. What are you doing here? Niels finally dropped the act. She confessed her witch identity to him. For centuries, people had hunted her for her immortal blood. Thanks to Niels's final act of mind control, the outside world still believed the witch to be a red-haired demon of unknown age and appearance. This had kept her identity safe. But this particular report held a surprisingly impartial assessment of both the witch and the church. Just then, Javier suddenly appeared, demanding to know what she was doing. Niels quickly shoved the book back. I think I left something here, so I came back to get it. Javier closed and locked the door behind him. Oh, really? And what was it? He locked the door as he spoke. Niels feigned distress. Emily left her staff here. Javier countered, the staff is in the carriage. She offered other excuses, but he refuted them all. Niels could only apologize. Can I explain later when we get back? Meeting his vulnerable gaze, Niels guiltily looked away. Please, Javier, don't look at me like that. He had worn that same expression once before, the day she had decided to leave him and journey alone. Javier buried his face in his sister's embrace. I don't like you keeping secrets from me. You seem to have hit it off with that girl. You've met him before, haven't you? I've been waiting these past 6 years. Waiting for you to tell me about your past. Waiting for you to let me share your pain. I thought if I just stayed by your side, if I was persistent enough, one day you would accept me as someone who could stand beside you. But now, you're planning on keeping secrets and doing something dangerous again. He suddenly leaned closer to her face. Niels, you once told me that my life wasn't meant to revolve around yours. But now I need to tell you that no one can survive in this world alone. Don't shoulder everything yourself. No matter what happens, I'll be by your side. Niels stared at him, stunned. After all these years, he still remembered her promise that they would face everything together. But from the moment she was reunited with Nicol, she seemed to have reverted back to the witch who wouldn't open her heart to anyone. Niels pulled out the book. I did think about telling you everything, but I'm afraid. Afraid that you'll hate me once you know the truth. But maybe this is the risk I have to take. Niels once completely destroyed his life. That was the first time he experienced human sorrow. Guilt. The Tartarus that took you was ordered to stop. Their goal was to find young children with magical potential among the common people, to cultivate them into undead soldiers. Beyond that, they used money, temptation, and force to coerce most of the promising magic users in this country. Everything was to fulfill their ambition, which is the Immortality Project that Nicol is currently working on, and I was once a part of it. The red-haired witches, once equal to the gods, were hunted to extinction by greedy humans. the sun god scoffed at them, granting immortality only to his obedient followers. So the witches, under the cover of night, got the followers drunk and stole immortality. Capitalizing on people's reverence for the sun god and their hatred for the witches, the order was born. They began to implement the Immortality Project. Thus emerged a baby girl. By 6 months old, she could speak. She possessed unparalleled magical talent, easily casting high-level magic without the need for incantations or a staff. Later, she named herself Niels Galleri, but the order called her the witch. After she turned 14, the church gradually involved her in the Immortality Project research. Her first partner was an overly silent paladin. A magic-sealing worm had damaged his vocal cords, leaving him able to utter only the occasional growl. No one knew, nor wanted to know, his thoughts. Only Niels, before each experiment, would tirelessly attempt to communicate with him, encouraging the man to write what he wanted to say on her hand. The man hesitated, his outstretched hand retracting before he finally decided to share his thoughts. He traced the words "you're allowed" on Niels's hand. Niels, understanding, grinned from ear to ear. "There's nothing I can do about it. You'll just have to endure it." He was the first companion the girl ever had. It was a pity that, at that time, no one had taught her the meaning of cherishing someone. Seeing the man had adapted somewhat, she decided to increase the dosage. "This might hurt a bit. Be brave. Legend says a witch's blood contains the power of immortality. Just a few drops can greatly enhance a person's potential. Mages can break through bottlenecks and expand their mana sources. Paladins can strengthen their bodies and become immune to harm." At 14, the experiment yielded remarkable results. After that, the church transformed the paladin order into undead soldiers. However, the prosperity brought about by this artificial witch's blood came at an unimaginable cost. Nearly half of the subjects died from organ rejection because of her experiments. Even those who survived were left inhuman. How could Niels, who didn't understand human emotions, comprehend this? She only saw it as a necessary sacrifice. Thanks to this, the Order's power has grown. Only in this way can we live up to the world's expectations. A woman roared, telling her that they were people, not objects. People have the dignity and rights inherent in being human. No one is born to be a sacrifice for others. Not even you. The girl fell into deep thought. The man told her not to take Helen's words to heart. She countered, "Why does everyone have a name, but I don't?" The man brushed it off. "Because you're special. A special person doesn't need such trivial things. You didn't used to say that." That day, the girl overheard the man suggest, "It's about time we gave her a name. Calling her which all the time is rather inconvenient, isn't it?" The man strongly objected. "If we give her a name, we'll develop feelings for her. It'll be troublesome when we eventually need to dispose of her." In the following days, the girl spent every day with her research subject, greeting him each morning, concerned for his well-being. Even though he never responded, the girl reached out her hand. "The words you can't speak, you can write here." Faced with his unresponsive face, the girl slowly withdrew her hand. "He won't respond anymore. This is all my fault. It's all my fault." That year, the witch was 14, 3 years and 6 months before she defied the church. Even now, she still dreams of him from time to time. The boy, as sharp as a wolf. That man, what was his name? Niels panicked. She hadn't yet explained about the time travel. She had also avoided mentioning his name, so Javier didn't know it was him. Seeing his sister's distress, he gave up the questioning. "But I will find out someday." Niels spoke hesitantly. "Don't you think I'm a cruel person?" Javier was puzzled. "Why? All the disasters were caused by the project being stopped, not by you. You're blaming the wrong person. Even if the man who suffered was me, I would never resent you for it." He lowered his eyes, a wry smile touching his lips. From a moment he decided to atone for his sins. How much pain and lonely days and nights had he endured? But now he had a companion to discuss strategies with, someone to confide in. He was no longer alone. The next morning, Nikel woke with a hangover. He saw Niels smiling brightly. "Good morning." He stared blankly for a second. Then, remembering, he immediately apologized. "It was supposed to be your welcome party, but I'm the one who got drunk." The next moment, he was vomiting on the floor. Niels told him to rest, but Nikel refused. "The others should be arriving soon. As Minister of Magic, I can't be the one skipping work." It was also Niels' first day at the Ministry of Magic. "Since we're all colleagues now, could you take me to meet them?" The two of them, along with Emily, went together. The girl noticed a new earring on Niels' ear. "Come on, tell me, which handsome young man gave you that?" Niels brushed it off. "I bought it at the market. It was actually a magical device for communicating with Javier. Nicole opened the door and was startled by the commotion inside. A sharp-tongued gentleman, clearly winning an argument, and a muscle-bound man ready to resort to fisticuffs if words failed. They were arguing incessantly, ignoring Nicole's presence. Nicole snapped, "Do you think anything will come of arguing like this?" Niels was surprised. The Nicole, who was timid with everyone, was now able to express his displeasure directly. It seemed these two had earned his trust. "Sorry to let you see this. They actually get along very well." Niels carefully observed the two. Gale, head of basic magic. The files didn't mention his parents. He seemed to have noble blood. Reyna, head of weapon enchantment, a veteran who had served on the border. Stripped of her rank after a conflict with a superior, she came here afterward. Commoner background. And then there was Madalai, head of magical devices, one of the first members of the Madar Luminary Society, a hard worker who rose through the ranks. But strangely, he made no sound when he walked. Just then, Javier's voice came through the earring. "How's it going over there?" Niels had a bad feeling about this group. Considering their backgrounds, Gale from the Royal City was the most suspicious. Reyna, despite her break with the Legion, couldn't be ruled out, and Madalai had the cleanest record of them all. But there were still some unsettling details. Coupled with the information Javier had gathered, it meant the traitor was indeed among those three. To rescue the traitor, Niels was walking into the Lion's Den, the Ministry of Magic's archive room. There had to be discontinued research results from the Immortality Project left there. But just like in her past life, they were all insignificant experiment reports. Without the witch's blood, they hadn't discovered anything of value. Just then, someone handed her the book she was looking for. Niels instinctively reacted, then suddenly cried out. The man shushed her, telling her to keep her voice down. He was sneaking off to slack off, and he didn't want to attract everyone. It was that man again, always appearing silently behind her. Did Javier collect information about the sun god? Why? Suddenly interested in such an ancient legend, Niels brushed him off, saying she was just browsing. As a believer, she wanted to learn more. The man said he meant no offense. He wasn't from this country, but where he was born, there was a saying, man can conquer nature. But he admired the church's practice of mortals embodying the power of gods. Faith is a mirror. It reflects the hopes people place in gods, the desires they can't fulfill. It allows them to project their unacknowledged desires onto a higher power, finding solace and escape. Before you arrived, Nicole and I conducted the experiments together. Are you encountering any difficulties? Niels realized he was testing her. The Society of Biology and Time and Light believes which approach is better. According to legend, they generally believe immortality exists only in specific species, like witches. Therefore, Javier's research focused on altering the body's energy, making it strong enough to resist the erosion of time. But this idea has been proven wrong. Legend says a witch's immortality was stolen from the sun god. Assuming this story isn't fabricated, but a real event, then the witch stole time magic. The magic circle I saw in Nicole's room also proves our theories align. Niels said this posed a significant risk. If humans could manipulate the flow of time, using it on others, or even the entire world, it could cause irreparable damage. Perhaps the witch who destroyed the church reversed time from some point in the future. As the truth surfaced, Niels's expression went blank. She instinctively stepped back. Why was this man telling her these things? Was it just speculation? Or was he testing her? The man suddenly reverted to his flippant demeanor. These are just my baseless conjectures. Because of its infinite possibilities, magic is so fascinating. How about joining the Department of Basic Magic? At that moment, Emily came looking for her mentor and found the two of them alone in the room. Nicole immediately bristled. You're slacking off again. I'll cut your funding if this continues. Before leaving, the man didn't forget to try and recruit her. Remember to consider my proposal. Niels fully realized the situation was becoming complicated. Afterward, she told Javier everything. Much of what he said overlaps with what happened in the past. He's highly suspicious. Javier, however, thought he was the least suspicious. If he were the traitor, he'd try to blend in. He'd make himself seem like everyone else, not proactively bring up Javier and expose himself. Openly revealing himself like that makes it hard to suspect his motives. Besides, you two were alone for a while. If you wanted to do something, you would have done it then. However, this is just my intuition. Should I still go with you? Niels said it was all right. She could protect herself. If you're still worried, let's keep in touch like this. As a witch, even when I faced the entire church alone back then, I never faltered. But now I'm constantly uneasy. I have a feeling something bad is going to happen. She arrived at Nikel's office. There, a girl named Emily from the Weapon Enchantment Department had just received a letter addressed to Minister Nikel at the door and brought it in. Along with the letter was a small bottle of starlight vine seeds. Strange. They had plenty of starlight vines here. Could it be a rare variety? Niels smelled blood. She immediately rushed forward, shouting for Emily to let go of the bottle. Inside the bottle, the starlight vine grew with terrifying speed. Niels instinctively shielded Emily in her arms. Hearing the explosion, Javier quickly left the training grounds and ran towards the Ministry of Magic. The entire roof was pierced by the vines. Their endless tendrils wrapped around Niels. Greedily absorbing Niels's simulated blood, the starlight vine gradually turned crimson. She realized it was a trap. If she cast a spell directly, it would kill the girl too. But if she let it escape, the tragic events of her past life would repeat themselves. She might lose them all again. Hearing the explosion, Javier didn't hesitate. He rushed to her side. Seeing him, Niels grasped at a flicker of hope. With desperate urgency, she cried out, "Go after those vines! They stole my blood." Without a moment's pause, Javier leaped from the window. The captain of the guard followed close behind. Emily carefully helped Niels up. Looking at the trembling girl, Niels suddenly sensed something amiss. More than one person might be behind this. Meanwhile, Javier pursued the vines deep into the forest. Upon closer inspection, he noticed that the vine's appearance was remarkably similar to his sister's starlight vine. Niels had once mentioned that a starlight vine nourished by blood would bond with its owner. The way it was fleeing, it was as if someone was controlling it from behind. Seizing his opportunity, Javier lunged, cleaving the vine in two. But several more strikes failed to reach the root, only intensifying its desperate struggle to escape. He remembered Niels's tone. It was the first time she had spoken to him with such raw desperation. He wouldn't let her down. Ministry personnel caught up. "Stop!" The vine snaked down into a surging magical current below. Knowing the path ahead was almost certain death, Javier didn't hesitate. He jumped. In his past life, Nikel had been Niels's only apprentice. He had excitedly told his teacher, "I've found a way." But Niels, listless and despondent, had been unresponsive to his enthusiasm. "Look," he'd urged, presenting his research. "Studies show that lowering body temperature can slow the deterioration of wounds. If we approach it from this angle," Niels pushed him away. "It's useless. I've already tried it. It only makes people sluggish. It doesn't truly extend lifespan." He urged her to look at his supplemental research. "If we refine it further," Niels cut him off. "I said it won't work." The research papers scattered across the floor. Curling up, she pleaded with Nikel, "Just let me handle this alone. You're only holding me back." Seeing Niels's pale face, Emily was both worried and intrigued. It was the first time she had witnessed such intense emotion from her teacher. Whether facing packs of magic wolves or the siege of the Luminary Society, Niels had always been so effortlessly composed. What could be so terrifying about this situation? What was so special about those seeds? Nikel asked Niels what had happened. "From the moment you stepped into the Ministry of Magic, I suspected you carried some kind of burden. Most mages have hidden pasts. I don't want to pry into your affairs. But now, something like this has happened within my jurisdiction. I can't ignore it." Emily raised her hand and added, "Please, I want to help Master Niels." Niels stared at them both, somewhat stunned. She's a witch. Everywhere she went, disgust and fear followed. He suddenly remembered Javier's words. "It's okay. Don't shoulder everything alone." The shadows of the past seemed to have dissipated somewhat. Soon, a serious disaster may erupt here. I want to ask you a favor. For the past 3 days, everyone has been searching for Javier. The man felt there was no need to search anymore. We've been looking for 3 days. Even if he's dead, we should have found a body by now. Jumping from such a height, he'd be dead or crippled. Even if he's alive, where could a cripple go? Suddenly, a pain shot through his calf. He saw vines slowly wrapping upwards. He turned to Rena for help, but the woman remained motionless, staring in shock at her own blood-covered hands. Is the legendary Pandora's sum. Some sacrificed their entire families. just for a drop of magic blood to maintain their youth. Some to break through bottlenecks and stand shoulder to shoulder with geniuses. Used themselves as experiments and died. The girl, abandoned by her family since childhood. Her parents called her a mediocre waste. She researched immortality with her most respected teacher, but was also rejected and driven away. You'll only hold me back here. It's better if I work alone. He silently picked up the documents from the floor, wiped away his tears, and choked back a sob, telling himself, keep going. Even if I can only help Master with some chores, it's still good. When he discovered the syringes on the table, a crazy idea came to mind. He injected the syringes into his body. The overbearing power of the witch instantly spread throughout him. Meanwhile, Niels was still blaming himself. What he had said earlier seemed a bit harsh. He was thinking of apologizing when he saw that the person inside the door had already changed. The girl approached her teacher. Master, am I no longer a burden to you now? But even though this which destroyed the church, some still coveted the witch's blood. The girl, used as an experimental subject, first felt a headache and fever. Then, the blood in her entire body exploded, constantly diluted by the vines. Finally, she died in agony, faced with repeated failures. The woman completely broke down, even with constant adjustments to the dosage. Even at the cost of the lives of everyone in the Ministry of Magic, not a single successful subject had emerged. If the final outcome was still failure, then what was the point of all this? The moment she pushed open the door, she saw Nigel standing inside, as if he had been waiting for her. She asked in surprise, "Why are you here?" Nigel angrily questioned. "That's what I should be asking you." Hein let out a crazed laugh. "I'm so glad to see you standing here unharmed. How does it feel now? Do you feel a strange power surging within you? That's wonderful." Nigel shook off his filthy hand. "Stop acting. A strange illness is rampant in the base, but you alone are unharmed. I'll give you one last chance to explain." Hein feigned innocence. "I was just lucky." Nigel could no longer suppress his rage. "You passed by so many people's rooms, yet you didn't help anyone. Attacking Niels, poisoning everyone in the Ministry of Magic. You did all of this, didn't you? So what? What can you do about it?" Mikhail was suddenly seized and entangled by the vines. "Don't be mistaken about the poisoning. The one who brought death here, it was the woman you brought. Haven't you ever wondered? Why would such a remarkably gifted mage come here and start from the very bottom? Truly foolish. In this world, strength is everything. A strong person submitting to the weak must have ulterior motives. You've all been deceived by her. That woman is," Hein began, but Niels interrupted. "Is what? If you've forgotten my name, I don't mind introducing myself again. Niels Glary. If you still can't remember, then in the next second, a sharp bang punctuated the air. She swept back her hair, a chilling smile playing on her lips like a predator's. With effortless brutality, she overpowered Hein. It doesn't matter. Dead men tell no tales. Hein hadn't expected her to actually kill him. "Tell me, who told you about the witch's blood? How many people have been harmed? And what do you intend to do with it?" Hein strained, clutching at Mikhail. "Someone like you, born with everything, you'll probably never understand the suffering of us mediocre ones. To gain the opportunity to learn, I became the fangs of the powerful. To earn the favor of geniuses, I worked day and night. I abandoned everything for my ideals, yet I could never overcome the chasm created by natural talent. Then you appeared, and you might be my only chance in this lifetime to change my destiny. Don't worry, this is the last of my blood, used to test the appropriate dosage. I won't waste such a precious thing on him. Wish me luck." The tragedy of her past life was about to repeat itself. Just as the woman was about to inject herself, Javier and Emily descended from above. In the next moment, Hein was subdued. He thrashed, unwilling to accept defeat. "Give it back," he roared furiously. Even stranger was the fact that his own starlight vines were obeying this woman's commands. With the situation stabilized, Niels asked them for a favor. "Something big might happen soon. I just contacted Javier. We need to present a united front. We'll claim Javier is missing. Using the search for the missing Javier as a pretext, we'll send out people to search the surrounding area. We need to prevent the culprit from taking my blood out of here. Currently, we suspect the attacker is someone on the inside, and we already have a suspect. He could have handled that attack himself. It was the girl who stopped him with her body. She used magic to let those vines escape. If he can't leave here, he might carry out his plan internally. I need you to make some antiserum for me." Mikhail agreed. No problem. But before that, you have to tell me what's going on. Why is the culprit so determined to get your blood? Niels finally confessed. No matter how you react to what you hear, remember that the priority is to resolve the current crisis. I'm the witch you're all looking for. Hein, upon hearing this, argued vehemently. Did you hear that? He's the witch, the enemy of the Luminary Order. I'm your ally. Give him to me. In the next instant, a sharp blade was pressed against his throat. You hurt my sister and forced him to reveal his identity. Each of these offenses is enough to warrant your death 1,000 times over. I'm very angry right now. You'd better be smart. As he spoke, Javier glared at Mikau. He only withdrew his blade when Niels told him to release Javier. Mikau, that thing in your hand, you understand its purpose, don't you? For so long, I've been pondering one question. That day, what truly killed that person? Was it the witch's blood or my own arrogance in believing I was different from him? So this time, I want you to speak with him. If it were you, would you gamble everything you have for such a slim chance? The world condemned him as an experiment, a red-haired monster created in a lab. Until this day, only then did Niels realize he had a mother. But the woman who should have given him warmth was the very culprit hidden behind layers of curtains, implicated in the ruin of his life. Hein desperately pleaded with Mikau to return the witch's blood. The world is inherently unfair. I just want to break through the bottleneck, give myself a chance. If it were you, you would understand, wouldn't you? I can't, Mikau said, unwavering. Though they both possessed mediocre aptitude and had never achieved anything remarkable. In the quiet of night, he too suffered from pain and self-doubt. When Niels told him about the effects of the simulated witch's blood, he felt a flicker of temptation. He liked his colleagues here. He liked his work. He liked the sense of accomplishment that came with solving difficult problems. So, I won't gamble my life on this minuscule hope, nor do I want to see you hurt yourself for it. I'm more afraid of the possibility of never being able to conduct academic research again than of achieving nothing in this life. Hein roared. You don't understand. Even if you put in all that effort, it will be futile in the end. Even so, Mikau replied, I still believe there are things I can do in this world. Hein froze, unspeakable anguish pouring out in that moment. I'll take you to plead your case. There might still be a chance to salvage this. Hein knew there was no turning back. Suddenly, in the next second, he coughed up blood. Niels acted swiftly, stabilizing his condition. The dosage he'd administered was small, not enough to be life-threatening. But the magic circuits within Hein's body were damaged. He feared he would never be able to wield magic again. Hearing this conclusion, Hein's heart turned to ashes. He truly hadn't been chosen. Watching them leave, Niels felt a strange sense of helplessness. Javier stepped up beside his sister. Don't pity him. I know you're always quick to empathize with others, but regardless of the reason, the fact that he hurt you remains. He brought this upon himself. It has nothing to do with you. Niels agreed. That's right. If you can't achieve it yourself, Mikau said, then how about passing the baton to future generations? Though the words felt somewhat hollow coming from him. Because of my different perspective, I understand the limitations of so-called geniuses. It's true that for an individual, the gap in talent can be insurmountable. But when time passes, measured in centuries, how significant is an individual's ability, really? Perhaps it's the discovery of a scholar, or maybe the idea of a village teacher. They might not have achieved great things for various reasons, but they could inspire future generations at some point. Ultimately, through the passage of time, their contributions will shine with their deserved brilliance. Your efforts are not in vain. It is these unsung heroes who have built the foundation of this world. Soon, the other victims were settled. As long as they had received the serum beforehand, they wouldn't be harmed by the witch's blood. Side effects were unavoidable, but they would wake up in a few days. This is Wendy, Starlight Vine's apprentice. Emily excitedly introduced her friend. After Javier jumped off the cliff, he went back to get Wendy. She infiltrated the Sea Eagle's underwater base. And before they could use the witch's blood, she injected the serum into the squad members and freed Mikau. She's the biggest hero in this whole incident. Now, the Sea Eagles were captured, and there were no casualties. Everything seemed to have come to an end. Javier asked Mikau to follow him. After locking the door, the atmosphere instantly dropped to freezing. So, about the witch, what are you going to do? Both apprentices looked surprised, a realization dawning on them. He really wasn't just anyone. Emily, trusting her own intuition over hearsay, believed the teacher wouldn't change his opinion of Niels. She then turned a sharp gaze on Mikal. If you dare to tattle, she warned, we're enemies. Mikal quickly denied any such intention. His primary concern, he explained, was whether the tragedy at the cathedral would repeat itself if they did nothing. As he spoke, Javier began to draw his sword, but his brother swiftly intervened, pushing the blade back into its sheath. He shook his head, signaling Javier to remain calm. Javier reluctantly relented. Honestly, he began. Are you forgetting something, sister? He continued. He confessed to us of his own free will. That means he cares more about the innocent people caught up in this than his own safety. If he intended to harm the light, he would have remained silent and let things unfold. Those non-sources would have already perished violently. Yet you're questioning his motives now. It's utterly ungrateful, heartless, inhumane. Mikal immediately dropped to his knees and apologized. Then I'll continue tending to the others, he said, and left. Once he was gone, Javier pressed the issue. Are you absolutely certain he's not acting? The boy affirmed his conviction. Just trust me on this. I'm a good judge of character, he insisted. I think he just needs a reason to believe in Niels, that's all. Meanwhile, Niels, following the clues, found the last person. The man sat atop the city wall. I thought you'd come to confront me first, he remarked. Niels got straight to the point. You told Hein about my identity and the effects of the witch's blood, didn't you? Where did you learn this information? If the nobles knew who I was, they wouldn't have remained inactive until now. Niels's intuition told him this man operated on a different level. Who is this enemy, really? The man offered a calm smile. Right, before we get down to business, allow me to introduce myself. After the silver-haired witch died, the former enemy she raised went mad. He tried to grasp the warmth of the past, but his fingers touched only cold air. 3 days ago, Niels met a red-haired witch just like him. Morgana, the first human in history to be branded a witch, and the donor of Niels's genes. Theoretically, she could even be considered his mother. Her presence here is likely a consequence of Niels destroying the cathedral. Having suffered persecution at the hands of the cathedral, you should understand the danger of restarting the Immortality Project. Why did you deliberately expose my identity and goad Hein into doing something so reckless? Don't you realize that could have cost many lives? Morgana remained indifferent. I despise all scholars. If they all died, it would be for the best. So-called truth built upon the sacrifice of others. I've heard enough of those self-righteous justifications. But since it failed, I won't pursue it further. I'm not like you. I don't possess such formidable power. Aren't all witches supposed to be exceptionally powerful? Certainly not. She was just a woman who happened to look this way and have a few special abilities. Precognitive dreams. That was what set her apart. The girl was born in a small village. The scenes in her dreams would occasionally manifest in reality. She treated them as a form of entertainment, adding a bit of trivial amusement to her life. She never imagined they would lead her into an inescapable abyss. One day, she told the boy who bullied her, "Your house will catch fire, and you will die there." Sure enough, her words proved prophetic. The villagers seized her and brought her to the burning stake to be executed. Fortunately, a passing priest intervened and took her away. But it wasn't salvation. It was another nightmare. There, she learned to use her abilities and understood that what plagued her every night were not mere dreams, but prophetic visions. Crushed and discarded like a useless animal. That was his fate. Terror nearly consumed him. To change all this, he plotted several escapes. He even seduced a male researcher, begging him to take him away. But no matter what he did, the Jade Dream told him it was futile. Until one day, when the research facility called Kindling was engulfed in flames. The true witch appeared. This was his only chance. The future shifted. His certain death took a turn. His dreams had never been wrong before. Therefore, he was certain something outside the established rules had entered this world, altering the course he was meant to follow. And that person was the only variable. Morgana didn't want to return to that torment. She warned Niels, "You're about to run into trouble." Ever heard of the grandmother paradox? Traveling through time to kill your own grandmother. Then my very existence would be erased. Congratulations, Mikal and Niels. You've twice thwarted Kindling's schemes. You've prevented countless people from being dragged into these inhumane experiments. But have you considered, if Project Eternity is stopped, then the witch wouldn't be created? then who would you be? The one who crossed time to save everything. A few days later, Niels returned to his hometown. People were busy sowing seeds. A luxurious carriage pulled up. Mikhail stepped out, sighing, finally home. They had returned. The boy rushed out of the carriage, arms open wide. Friends, neighbors, I missed you all so much. But something felt off. The villagers spontaneously gathered around Javier. You're finally back. Emily chuckled softly. Didn't you have a feeling about this? A person always needs something to look forward to, don't they? Niels descended from the carriage. Long, snow-white hair framed skin as pale and luminous as jade. So that's Javier's sister. They've been here for 6 years, and this is the first time we've seen her. She's truly beautiful. I wonder if she's easy to get along with. Ha ha ha, look, Colin seems quite taken with her. Niels quickly dodged the boy who tried to grab his braid. The atmosphere instantly fell silent. Everyone felt a flicker of disdain. Don't touch. My sister's clothes are enchanted with protective magic. It wouldn't be good if you were accidentally hurt, right? Niels, having received the signal, simply hummed in agreement. The atmosphere instantly returned to normal. Thankfully, Javier intervened. He still wasn't comfortable interacting with people. Looking back, every connection he'd made with the people of this world had been facilitated by Javier. Miss Niels, I'm Colin's mother. I apologize for his rudeness just now. Niels replied, It's all right. Is your health improving? Yes. That's wonderful. To celebrate the good news, why don't you come to my house for dinner tonight? Before Niels could process the invitation, Mrs. Scott, ever cunning, chimed in. I wanted to invite her too. Why don't several of us families get together and throw a celebration for Miss Niels's recovery? And maybe she could install a washing machine at my house too. She's barely recovered. How can you ask her to do something so troublesome? Niels waved his hand dismissively. It really doesn't take that much time. He inexplicably recalled Morgana's words. Because you've disrupted Project Eternity multiple times, at this point in time, Niels wouldn't be born. Therefore, the world will gradually erase your existence. No body, no name, as if you never existed. Aside from those few children with strong ties to you in this world, probably no one will remember a trace of you. So how much time do I have left? You're more composed than I expected. At most 3 days. So Niels told them the same. At most 3 days. The villagers began preparing for the evening's celebration. Javier and Mikhail joined in. The boy asked him, Are you really not going to join the Luminary Order? They're very sincere. If you're willing to train, they can help you get a job in the Knights. Isn't your dream to become a knight? Javier scratched his head. Well, but I don't want to get too close to them. After all, Sister's identity is very sensitive. The closer she gets to the center of power, the more likely his identity will be exposed. Although I have confidence that he won't be harmed no matter what. The mental anguish caused by suspicion and betrayal is indelible. Even if there's only a 1 in 1,000 chance of that happening, it's enough reason for me to refuse. Emily charged over, kitchen knife brandished. You men are so easily blinded by emotion. Didn't the teacher say before? He doesn't like you giving up your future for him. Don't you think basing all your decisions around someone else is a form of self-abandonment? Javier's eyes held a gentle warmth. But just as love isn't everything, success isn't the only path in life, is it? Being able to stay by Sister's side and protect her, that is myself. Both of them froze. Javier, you really are a damn simp. Javier's ears flushed red. Simp? What's wrong with that? They don't even have a sister to simp for. Pushing open the door, they saw their sister studying intently. Don't use brute force. Use zheng. It might cause it to break, but be quick. You have to shape it before the temperature drops. Javier walked over puzzled. Niels turned, wiping sweat from his brow. You came at the right time. He plunged a red-hot iron sword into water to cool it. Try it. See how it feels. With a single swipe, the wood splintered. With a glance, Niels spotted the flaw. No good. The weight isn't balanced. You'll be laughed at if you use a sword like this. Start over. Sister, is this for me? Of course. You're still using an ordinary iron sword. That won't do. He wanted to add some magical enhancements, but his blacksmithing skills were truly lacking. Damn it, why is this so hard? Hearing Javier call him, Niels turned around. I only need Sister. As long as I have you, I desire nothing else. Soon, the celebration began. The entire village gathered. Niels watched everyone silently. The wand appeared at this moment. Not going to make one last desperate struggle? Or sneak away and find a quiet corner to die alone? That would be more like you. He'd been called out. Niels had indeed considered it, but he'd changed his mind. If he left without a word, it would only leave those around him with a lifelong, indelible regret. It would be painful at first, of course, But witnessing it firsthand was better than a disappearance without a trace. He's a strong child. With the passage of time, perhaps one day he would learn to let go, and then, surrounded by everyone, live out his life. What I couldn't do, I at least hope he can achieve for me. Javier glanced back at Niels, then waved happily and ran towards his sister. Everyone's going to dance later. Do you want to join in? He scratched his face, a little embarrassed. And then, if you'd like, with me. Suddenly, he was interrupted. Javier, thank you. Because of you, these past 6 years haven't been lonely. It's strange. A witch, abandoned by everyone, actually fantasizing about living like an ordinary person. I wonder what that would be like. But then, Niels's body finally began to sink. His outstretched hands, at this moment, couldn't grasp anything substantial. They both looked toward their teacher. Javier's world seemed to collapse. Suspicion bloomed in his heart. Realizing the moment he was losing his sister, he tried to control the emotions threatening to burst forth. He heard them say they were taking the teacher to see a doctor. Javier roared, "Don't touch him. Are you talking nonsense at a time like this? Can't you see he's unwell?" Emily and the others stopped. They watched as their teacher gradually dissipated before their eyes. "Please don't touch him." The echoes of past laughter, now sharp and piercing, assaulted Niels's every nerve. His heart clenched in an invisible fist. "If I don't give myself to her, your lower body will begin to dissipate." Javier kept vigil by his sister Morgana's bedside all night. No matter how many healing spells he cast, he couldn't slow the dissipation. What's more, aside from the three of them, none of the other villagers even remembered Niels. Javier's world was crumbling. He kept saying he wouldn't agree, that he was the one who took me away. He's the one who made me like this, unable to live without him. He can't just leave me like this. His friends urged him to calm down, to sit and think of a solution. What can you even do by rushing out like this without a plan? I don't know. I just know that if this continues, I'll lose him. I don't know what to do. Please help me. Since you're on your knees begging, a voice called from the trees. It was Morgana, the other red-haired witch. She leaped down but twisted her ankle, landing on the ground with a thud. Though clearly in pain, she put on a brave face. "Need a hand." Quickly, she drew a magic circle. In the center of the circle, Javier held his sister protectively. Morgana called for Emily, then touched Emily's forehead. Magical energy surged outwards, converging on Niels bit by bit. It swirled around his fading fingertips, and in the next instant, they were restored. But this is only temporary. It won't last long. I won't bore you with the details. Morgana explained. The long and short of it is, he shouldn't exist in this world. All I can do is strengthen the connection between you and him. And the one among you with the strongest connection, I remember your name, is Javier. 18. I want to attach an anchor to you, so he can find his way back even in the void. But this means your lives will be bound together. If he disappears completely, there's no telling what will happen to you. Javier spoke up. Did you suggest this to him? Of course, but he refused. He even confined me. I rushed here the moment I was free. I imagine this child is the one Niels would rather disappear himself than see harm. When will he wake up? Morgana shook her head. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe in 10 years, 20 years. Maybe he won't wake until you're old and gray. This world isn't ready to accept him. Even so, will you wait? Javier answered without hesitation. It doesn't matter. From the day I first met him, I was prepared for this. In the darkness, Niels slowly opened his eyes. The demon, Mammon, appeared. Where is this? The depths of your own heart. All of Niels's memories are stored here. Niels reached out to touch the shimmering water, but it shattered at his touch. Everything you want to remember, everything you don't want to remember, it's all here. Mammon mused. If it were before, perhaps I would have been interested in exploring Niels's past. But now his story is over. I should go home. Home? Where's home? It must exist somewhere, right? I mean, the real me. The me before I entered this book. I might have a happy family. Or maybe my relationship with my parents isn't so good. I would go to school, make ordinary friends. Maybe I clash with teachers over schoolwork. Just like countless ordinary girls, with all sorts of worries. But no matter what, it wouldn't be harder than Niels's life. I'm not Niels. I'm just a reader who usurped his place. My task is complete. So can I go home now? Don't fool yourself. Niels never had a transmigrate. You just want to make yourself feel better. It began with the realization that he couldn't stop the tears. It was after Mikhail's death. The girl who was willing to share his grief was no longer in this world. No one would cry for the witch anymore. He was despondent for a long time. He even proposed to the higher-ups that the research be terminated. The research was quickly halted. The head of Project Eternity was replaced. The witch no longer held any value. Niels stared blankly at the cage. A small hand reached out from within. A desperate boy, no older than 10. Niels' pupils constricted. He immediately stepped forward to intervene. Didn't I say not to use living people for experiments? Why are you doing this? But the man just said, this is the new director's way of doing things. If you won't do it, then we'll just have to find someone else who will. They want to see results. They don't care about the process. Didn't you think about this before you suggested giving up? He remained in the research facility, dejected, racked with guilt and self-reproach. It was his fault again. It was all his fault. He could no longer distinguish right from wrong. While arguing with the new director, a female colleague stepped forward to try and calm him. But in the next instant, the witch unleashed flames. In less than a second, the woman was engulfed. A pained cry echoed through the research facility. It seemed no matter what he did, someone would get hurt. Like a curse, wherever he went, pain followed. The witch's existence had gone from legend to reality. Being proactive was wrong. Apathy was wrong. Compromise was wrong. Rebellion was wrong. This time, Niels was hunted by countless people. He escaped kindling and secluded himself deep within the forest. And in the end, his mistakes became his retribution. They should hate him. Niels' very existence was a mistake. Nearing death, he summoned Mammon. I don't want to live as a witch anymore. If I could go back, let me believe I am someone else's reincarnation. And so, he numbed his future self. He became a witch with modern memories. Poor Niels just wanted to escape. He genuinely believed he was someone else's reincarnation. But in the end, you still didn't get the ordinary life you wanted. But it doesn't matter. It's all over. You and your memories will remain here forever. You don't need to be afraid anymore. No one will be hurt because of you. And you don't need to cry for anyone anymore. That world doesn't need Niels. I am you. I am your past. And I am the desires and fears deep within your heart. Come, stay here with me. Niels drew back his hand. If you really are the Niels of the past, answer me one question. Why didn't you choose death back then? Death is the easiest path. If, at that time, I had let Javier's blade pierce my heart, there would be no more guilt or pain. But you didn't choose to do that, Niels countered. He had been infinitely close to liberation, but on the verge of death, he gave himself another chance. And you, the past you, didn't give up on life because of pain. So you should understand why I persist now. I want to live, even if the world, after reincarnation, tirelessly reminds us of those painful memories. The witch's life force continued to linger. The Niels of the past began to fragment. He asked his present self with a sense of relief, "You found a place to belong, didn't you?" Niels clutched his heart and replied, "Yes. So I should go back." He opened his eyes again, waking up in the small bed. He looked around. His red hair seemed to have grown quite a bit. How long had he been asleep? The door opened. The boy who had once stood outside was gone. In his place stood someone whose height and build now dwarfed Niels. Even on tiptoe, Javier only reached the man's shoulder. Javier froze, a cautious hope flickering in his eyes. Hesitantly, fearfully, he tested the waters. Brother, after Niels's death, or what he thought was death, he had kept vigil for 2,555 nights. 7 long years. Finally, he had witnessed Niels's awakening. Yet the sweet, compliant, golden-haired boy was now a handsome and rather large, affectionate man. On the 73rd day of Niels's initial coma, Emily had said goodbye. Michael had recommended him to the Magic Academy. It was a boarding school, which meant he wouldn't be able to return and see Javier for a long time. Seeing Javier's lack of response, he felt compelled to mention Niels's name. "I'm so grateful to our teacher," he began. "Because of him, I truly experienced the beauty of magic. Even now, I believe it's a field I'm willing to dedicate my life to exploring. So, even if you think I'm betraying him, I don't want to give up this opportunity. No one knows when he'll wake up, but that doesn't mean time stops. I hope you can move on, too. Live your own life? Okay." Javier responded with a smile. "Of course. I'm happy you found your path. I'm sorry I've been so down lately. I know you were worried, but I'm okay now. I plan to build my brother a new, wider bed, so he could be more comfortable. After that, I'll go to Bright Glow to practice my swordsmanship. I hope that when he wakes up, he'll see a more mature and stronger me, not the gloomy person I am now. We both have to work hard." Seeing him like this, Emily was finally relieved. "See you after graduation, then." "Take care," she said, waving goodbye. Every day, he counted the days. From 100 to 300, 1,000 to 2,000. 7 whole years. When he pushed open the door and saw his brother standing before him once more, Javier didn't hesitate to pull him into a hug. Niels's mind was foggy. How long had he been asleep? The furnishings were the same as he remembered, but how Javier had grown. For a fleeting moment, he thought the man who had hunted him in his past life had returned. He patted Javier's back, trying to ease the embrace. But Javier only held him tighter. He murmured over and over, "You're back, you're back." Niels stopped struggling, letting himself be held. When Javier's emotions calmed, he finally loosened his grip and apologized. "I'm sorry I made you wait so long. I won't leave again. So let go now. Can you tell me what's happened these past few years?" As they sat down, Niels felt a weight of scrutiny. "Even if you don't stare at me like that, I won't suddenly disappear. While you were asleep, Ram inherited the family business. He's working in trade now. Emily went to the Magic Academy." But, Javier added, "I'm not going to tell her you're awake yet. Otherwise, she'd probably storm out of school and get a major demerit. As for me, just like you wanted, I joined the Heimdall or Bright Glow Order. I'm training in swordsmanship as a prospective paladin. The villagers have been taking good care of me, too. Don't worry, I've been doing well these past years. My swordsmanship has improved a lot. If it were now, I'm confident I could protect you from any harm." Niels looked him over, taking in his appearance. His physique was certainly strong. He seemed to have been eating well. His clothes and hair were neat, showing no signs of neglect. Only the lines around his eyes hinted at a long period of restless sleep. Javier, beaming, nuzzled Niels's hand and rested his head on his brother's knee. Niels gently stroked his hair. But something felt strange. While they'd often acted this way when he was little, he was much older now. Shouldn't they change how they interacted? Seeing Niels pause, Javier asked with concern, "Did something happen?" Niels, feeling a pang of guilt, brushed it off. "Nothing. How long has it been since you slept?" Javier suddenly looked guilty himself. "I'm fine," he insisted. Niels urged him to lie down and rest immediately. "I've fluffed the blankets and brought a stool. Now sleep." But Javier couldn't fall asleep, afraid that Niels would disappear again. "I'm sorry for leaving you alone. Even though you've tried to downplay these past years without me, I can still feel the hurt I caused you. Remember when we first bought this house? It was practically empty. Back then, I was consumed by the world's rejection of me. I didn't have the heart to decorate our lives. It was you who picked flowers every day and used your saved money to slowly fill this house. That's how this place started to feel like home. It became the place I could return to in the emptiness. Now, it remains exactly as it was when I left, almost unchanged. But it's missing the warmth you always worked so hard to maintain for me. If I could, I want you to hit me, yell at me, ask me why I abandoned you. But you're too kind. You wouldn't do that. So all I can offer is this apology." Javier wanted to make himself swear he'd never leave Niels again like he did 7 years ago. He sighed, defeated. "Well, I guess I have no choice but to forgive you." He was about to go back to his own room when Niels suddenly grabbed his hand. "Don't go. You said you wouldn't leave me." Niels's mind raced. He considered the situation. "So, you want to sleep together?" "Wait, Javier, don't jump on me." "Night." Most parts of this spot are unclear audio. The great witch, resurrected, is now tethered to the bedside by the loyal dog she raised. Seeing Niels about to return to her room, Javier suddenly tackled him. "You promised you wouldn't leave. I'm just going to the next room to sleep. But you were gone for 7 whole years. How can I be sure you won't disappear again? I don't want to wake up and find you gone anymore. Please." Javier, always so mature and obedient since childhood, was now clinging to him. The more he acted this way, the harder it was for Niels to refuse. This is the last time. Was he imagining things? Or was Javier even clingier than when he was little? He used to act like a little adult, but now that he was older, he was becoming more affectionate. Perhaps it was Niels's own fault. Javier patted the pillow, inviting Niels to join him. Niels moved over, feeling embarrassed. At the same time, he set a rule. "You're not a child anymore. You need to learn some boundaries. These pillows are the line between us. Whoever crosses it is a dog, understand?" But Niels didn't realize that Javier was already his dog. Javier smiled indulgently, his eyes filled with a long-held affection. That night, he stayed by Niels's side, watching over him until he finally fell into a deep sleep, never relaxing his vigilance. The next morning, the birds nestled together, just like the two of them. Niels's eyes snapped open, and he froze. Javier's arm was wrapped around his slender waist, his head buried in the crook of Javier's neck. He looked up to see Javier's face barely a centimeter away. The next second, a scream echoed through the room. "Stop pretending. You've been awake, haven't you? Get off me." Javier held on tight, refusing to let go. You're cold, Niels. Niels wasn't falling for it. He kicked Javier out of the bedroom. If you're cold, get up and move around. Honestly, this kid is getting out of control. He opened the wardrobe. It was empty. Javier, Niels asked, where are all my old clothes? The younger man told him he'd put them away to keep them from getting dusty. He'd air them out in a few days. Just wear your pajamas for today, Javier said. Niels had been hoping to visit the village. Have you told Ram and the others that I'm awake? He asked. Javier, busy preparing a meal, said he hadn't yet. Emily's at school, Javier explained. Ram's taken over the family business. Everyone's busy. I thought I'd wait a while. Too many people, all the hustle and bustle, wouldn't be good for your recovery. I've stocked up several months' worth of food, Javier continued. The mountains provide enough for us to be self-sufficient. I've learned carpentry and blacksmithing over the years. Anything you need, brother, I can make it for you. Niels was beginning to understand Javier's intentions. He couldn't find it in himself to be angry. His voice was calm when he finally spoke. Are you planning to keep me locked away here forever, Javier?